Good evening, good evening, good evening, good night, and welcome. It's your girl, Keeley Taverner. Tonight, it's all about mood and food. For those who've signed up, who are interested and intrigued to know, it's all about mood and food. And I think this is a relationship that we don't often talk about, that we don't give sufficient space to talk about. Society conditions us to feel inadequate about our body size and our body shape, yet our relationship with food is often a very intimate relationship and one that doesn't often come up for scrutiny. So if you've signed up to this workshop, it's likely that the content in here resonates with you. And if you have any questions, please put them in the questions area. I'm happy to answer those. You'll find the answers to those on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't signed up to the Empath Self-Protection YouTube channel, why not? Please do so. My lovely assistant Claire will be putting the link below. So welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to have you on board. It's good that you're here. So, mood and food. I can tell by the fact that so many people have signed up that it is a very popular topic, and it's a massive one that many people have massive issues with. And it's important that we give that space in order to be able to talk about, explore what that means for us, because our relationship with food is a very complicated one. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, let me get a heart or a like up here, because your girl Key, I'm still getting used to delivering presentations via this particular forum. So I'm going to have a quick open up and I'm just going to get the slides ready. But if you're kind of curious about your relationship with food, fret not, you are far from alone. And it has far-reaching consequences than we would otherwise expect. So it's important that we give that space and attention, because our relationship with food can often be particularly complicated. No two ways about that. Just as I'm finding it particularly complicated to bring up the slides, I'm finding it very difficult to bring up the slides, even though I have opened them up. But either way, what I would like you to do, just take a moment, is I want you to think about, what is your food vice? What is your food vice? Do let me know. What is your food vice? If you could just take a moment and put that in the chat, I would be most grateful. What is your food vice? My dear lovely Claire, I just want to let you know that I've done what you've told me to do, and I'm struggling to find the slides. Carbs, there you go, the carbs, the dreaded carbs. I totally get it. Well, if I go in that way, maybe I can pick it up from here. There we go. See? Present. So if someone could just confirm if they can see the presentation, because I have managed to get the presentation up. So please, if anybody could let me know. So we've got carbs here. Yeah, carbs, very important to be aware of. Obviously, carbs can be particularly problematic, especially we need to be mindful about what time of day that we, yes, brilliant. Thank you, Belinda. Thank you for letting me know. You can see the slides. Okay, mood and food. And I think this is something that we need to pay attention to. It's a big one for people, an absolutely massive one for people. So tonight we're going to be exploring your deeper relationship with food, why, potentially exploring why you overeat, and potentially just encouraging you to think about, is there a void in your life? So that's something to think about. What might be the void within your own life? For some of us, we might be using food unconsciously to fulfill that. So just as a little bit about me. Wow, probably about 20 odd years ago, I was your IKEA checkout queen, working on the tills, selling blue bags and asking you to leave the yellow behind. I decided that I could do much more with my life, which took me off to university, where I did a degree in psychology. I graduated in 2007, and by 2015, after doing 8 years in the prison service, I just felt like I'd reached a glass ceiling and I wanted more for my life, which is why I started Key for Change, because I felt like, well, I was always being knocked back for all the jobs I applied for. And so I just felt like, actually, it's really important that I take responsibility for my own life. And that's how Key for Change began. And basically all Key for Change was me wanting to help people who were like me, who were empathic, sensitive, who'd loved and lost, who'd been hurt, and wanted to get over, understand their intimate relationship dynamics at a deeper level. And that basically is where Key for Change came from. So today I work for myself, and I help all manner of people with all manner of life dilemmas. I'm passionate about helping people to get under the kind of surface level, to get to the depth of what is really going on for them, what really is going on for them. So when I think about food, one of the most simplest things, if we can remember it, is that, can you endeavor to eat when you're hungry? The body is an absolute truth teller, but for many of us, we are not in sync with our bodies. Our bodies also, as we know, not for everybody, but we can be very intuitive. And for many people who come into therapy, for whatever reason, they don't trust their instincts, they ignore them, and they give their power away to other people. The body, your body is, I cannot express to you enough how much wisdom is in your body. Your body knows before your mind does. So one simple food for thought might be that you start to ask yourself, am I actually hungry when you eat? If anybody here has been on an all-inclusive holiday, I think all-inclusive holidays absolutely mess up your whole eating regime, because it's like, I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm hungry. I just know it's noon and it's lunch. It was breakfast time and then it was dinner time. So because of the whole day was structured around timings, it would mean I never questioned whether I was hungry. It was just that you turned up and ate. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, that's good, because it's always nice to know you're not totally alone. But one of the things about noticing your mood and relationship with food is also to think about, am I actually hungry? And if you're not hungry, what we need to think about is then asking ourselves self-inquiring questions, which is, so what is this all about? So like I said before, what would be wonderful to know is, what is your food vice? What is your go-to thing? What is it for you? And if you could take a moment, please just put what your food vice is in the chat. What is your food vice? I've probably, like for me, mine was always McDonald's. And if you can think about what your food vice is, take a moment, think about your food vice. What is yours? And then what I would love you to do is to take a moment and think about, what is your earliest experience of that particular food item? What does that food item connect to? I know mine was always about, McDonald's was always a treat when my brother and I were coming home from my dad's. And it was secretive. We weren't supposed to tell my other siblings that we were being treated. So that, at a psychological, emotional level, created an unconscious relationship with the brand of McDonald's. Yeah. So I'm sharing that with you to help you. What I want you to do is to think about the food item that is your vice. But think about your timeline. Go back in your timeline and connect that to an experience. What is your first experience of that? Now, for some of us, you might not have anything. You might think, I don't know what you're talking about. But for some of us, we can link that back. And if you can link that back to maybe bad times in your life or good times, this is an important link. This is us developing our self-awareness. And self-awareness is key. It's absolutely key. We have a very intimate relationship with food. Remember, we're marketed it at all the time. And so that stuff goes in psychologically. I've seen the recent rebirth of Skips and Monster Munch. And I don't know what it is, but they have them in these big bags. You know, I had to buy some because it was taking me back, right? That's about nostalgia. It's a bit like why I bought Fila trainers recently. Firstly, I never had a pair when I was younger. I wasn't treated to a pair. And so now as an adult, because I have the money to buy them, I now buy them because there's a nostalgia to them. So what about you? Is there anything about your food vice, whatever it may be? Let's have a little quick look in the chat. Oh, homemade chips. Oh my God, I loved homemade. My dad makes homemade chips, penny chips. Oh, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And how does that link back to your past? Yeah. Was it that you also, just seeing a comment here about it was eaten by brothers, was it something that you craved? Did you see other people with those food items and then you desired them for yourself? I don't know about anybody here, but my mom had hid the pop. She hid the Coke in the cupboard. And so there was something about Coke that always represented a treat, that it was special, that it wasn't just always in the fridge, that we had to go on a hunt and find it. Big up to my Panda Cola crew. Yeah, the Roller Cola massive. I totally get that. Yeah, that was when I started to getting my own pocket money and I was able to go to the shop and buy my own, which was a wonderful feeling. The Roller Cola massive. But think about whatever your food vice is and link it back. Go back to early memories. Go back to wherever your mind goes and just see if there's any connection there that relates to you. If anybody's starting to notice anything about that relationship with that food item, that's absolutely okay. That's healthy, actually. That is a part of you developing your self-awareness. That is a part of you developing your self-awareness around that. If you've got any questions around that, feel free to put them in the questions section. So what I'm encouraging you to think about is who is in the driving seat. Is it you or the food? Do you really want a food item, which I had one here with me, to have control and power over you? Can a little packet of crisps have power over you, or are you in control? And this is one of the reasons why in the supermarkets, they have those bags of the treats at the till, because they're capitalizing on us making impulse purchases. Impulse purchases work if you're not self-aware, because in your self-awareness, you can make a pause and ask yourself a question. Do I really need this? Is this good for me? What is that about? Should I wait for lunch? These are important because if you can create space to question yourself, that in itself is giving you a gap. You're having a pause rather than just grab and go, rather than making impulse choices. Now, I don't know about you, but if food is in control of your life, then I would naturally assume that you want to have more control. You want to be in the driving seat for your life. And one of the tactics that I find particularly helpful, thank you for the poll, Claire. What I find particularly helpful is one of the things that I taught, and I learned it in Jamaica, and they just once said, a belly full is a belly full. And I thought, I like that, but I didn't know what it meant. It meant that actually, it doesn't actually matter what you eat as long as your belly is full. And I've always found that a helpful way for me to think more mindfully about the food that I consume. Because if actually at a particular point I'm ravenous for something, it's absolutely fine. But it doesn't mean that I have to choose self-harming foods. And that's what I'm starting to do. I label certain foods as self-harming, which may sound extreme, but actually it can be important for us if we feel that food has more power over us. So that puts me in the driving seat. Because if I say to myself, well, okay, Keeley, well, you want that, but actually, why don't you go and have something else? Why don't you make a different choice? Yeah. So here we have the results are in, and it suggests that your impulses are having control over you. Thank you for that. Now, the challenge we have, as ever, is your relationship with food is controlled by your inner voice. What you say to yourself when you see the Snickers bar, the crisps, what you say in terms of your head fuels your decision-making process. And this is one of the reasons why it's so important for us to have a pause. Do I really need to order burger and chips? Yeah, if I eat a salad, a belly full is a belly full, I remind myself. A belly full is a belly full. How you get your belly full, what difference does it make? Just put a food item in your mouth and fill your appetite. Because if we're not mindful of our internal voice, because it's our internal voice that governs the food choices that you make. By the time you're picking up the Mars bar, your voice in your head would have been communicating to you well before. The challenge is for you to begin to start to hear what you say to yourself. And if you can begin to hear what you say to yourself, I'd love you to jot it down. Because absolutely what happens when we're making a choice, if we can slow down enough, there's a whole raft of dialogue that is enabling us to say, you know what, yeah, but I've been good today. I did 10,000 steps. I deserve it. There is a whole dialogue going on. And if you feel, as many of you do in the poll, that food has control over you, then you're going to miss the dialogue that happens, because the dialogue that encourages you to choose self-harming foods. You can also flip that to make more empowered choices. So that food item doesn't have the power of you. That puts you back in the driving seat. Your inner voice is your internal navigation system. And if you don't learn to pay attention to it, you're walking blind. And this internal voice is a voice that fuels anxiety, depression, self-harm. At the far end of the spectrum, it's the inner voice that fuels suicide, the ultimate act of self-harm. Your dreams and aspirations are influenced by your internal voice. If you hear yourself saying no instantly when you have a dream or ambition or there's something you want to achieve, then if you've got a critical voice, a harsh, brutal voice, then you're not even going to get out of the starting blocks. If you've only got a voice of self-condemnation, you're the person who'll put yourself down. You will be up and degrade on yourself. And ultimately, this can result in a life where you live a small, tiny life. And I can probably make this assumption that you want more for your life. You want a fulfilling life. You want to go beyond your stumbling blocks. You want to be able to live much more fully. And this is one of the reasons why we look at your voice, your inner voice, to get an understanding of how you treat yourself. Often, for many of the clients that I support, they would never talk to another human being the way they talk to themselves. And I think it's that ultimate hypocrisy that I like to point out to people, because it helps them to make more different, it helps them to become aware and to make different choices. So your internal voice is influenced by family, class, race, TV, and media, to name a few. And all this information gets funneled into our head, and that influences our internal voice. For the clients who I've worked with, and throughout the pandemic, the kind of eating disorders has become particularly rife. It's important to understand how social media and ideals of beauty impact on people, enabling them to feel inadequate or inadequate. So I think this is a poll here, Claire. If you think about your social media, I want you to think about whether it makes you feel inadequate or okay with your body. Because I think we can't be talking about food without also connecting that to body image and attractiveness. Many of the people that come to Key for Change often loathe and hate their own selves, their bodies, often healthy bodies that are not diseased in any way, shape, or form, but often because we've been conditioned to feel inadequate, we end up hating the skin we're in. And self-acceptance is almost revolutionary, because it's almost more acceptable that I go and I get surgery. It's very interesting. So if you want to change your relationship with food, I've come up with this term today as I wrote these notes. You need to NMP. NMP, which is, I want you to notice the situations where you're more likely to make poor food choices. I want you to take a moment or write it in the chat. What are the situations where you are far more likely to make poor food choices? What I'm encouraging you to do here is to develop your self-awareness. This is a self-awareness exercise. This is the second one. Yeah. Firstly, we linked it back to the past. And now we're NMPing it. NMP, NMP, NMP. I want you to notice, begin to notice, even just put it in the chat. What are the situations where you're more likely to make poor food choices? Let me know. Let's get that chat going. Bored, time on my hands, watching them. You know what? I made that link with the watching the telly stuff the other day. I just thought to myself, you know what? It's like I sit down on the sofa and it's like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? And whatever's in the cupboard, I mean, the other day, it was a whole pack, it was a pack of them, you know, because I try and keep it healthy. And it was the Cracker Jacks. I'm like, who eats a whole packet of Cracker Jacks? That's ridiculous. But it's important to notice these situations. Beautiful. Notice those situations, because that then you become empowered if you choose to be. You know, if you're not about being empowered, you just want to keep walking blind into it, that's fine. But if you want to start to think, all right, well, at this particular time, I'm more likely to do X. In these situations, I'm more likely to do X. Here we have, someone said it's a reward at the end of the day. And that whole reward system is also something to be mindful of, because then we give food a supreme power as well, rather than just saying, you know what, today I will have X. Because what we want to do is we want to deactivate the power that food has over us. Deactivate the power so we become more empowered. So that's the NMP. Notice the situations where you're more likely to have poor food choices. You ever had that though? Sometimes you've had certain food and it's just not worth the guilt trip after, the beating up on yourself, because sometimes it tastes better in your imagination. You ever have that? You know, when I wrote that today, it reminded me of when I worked with people who had a crack addiction. And I remember they used to say, you know what, Key, sometimes you're chasing the high, and then when you get that, you're chasing it, you're on it all day, trying to get a next stone, you know, your next high. And that actually the chase is better than the reality of getting that high. Have you ever had that? Have you ever made a poor food, you know, a choice, a self-harming food choice? That might sound a little bit extreme, but you've made that choice. If you are sod it, I'm going to have that today. And it just was not worth the guilt trip. You don't mind if you think, oh God, that was absolutely delicious and delightful. Yeah. And again, another thing that can happen is when we deny ourselves food, it then has more potency and power over us. Yeah. So denial is not healthy for us either, because then again, that food gets so much more power over us. We need to be mindful of that. So here are a few of my situations where I'm more likely to make poor food choices. Late at night, and you know, the whole snack thing, the whole snacks calling me. I don't know about anybody else here, but my snacks seem to have a voice on them, a mouthpiece, which is like, come and get me, come and get me. The large share size packets, that's a lie. It's a total lie about share size. I mean, no one ain't sharing them. I don't know about you guys here, but I will eat them all. I will eat them all those Monster Munch, all those skips. Family get-togethers. And that food is such an important part of things that bring people together. Yeah, absolutely important. And if I've had a drink, I might be out socializing on the way home, it just increases the likelihood that I may make a poor food choices. And certain people, being around certain people, it just kind of like, if I'm not conscious, I can end up making poor food choices. Who might be the people for you? If you're around certain people, are you more likely to say, oh, sod it, let's have that? Just think about that. As you may know, I have my own office in Uxbridge. At my office, if I haven't put food in the fridge, then I'm vulnerable, because that's when I'm more likely to be ravenous, had a busy day, then I stop. And if there's no food there for me to either graze on, then I'm more likely to end up in one of the fast food joints in and around the local area. And that results in the grab and go, you know, and let's not even talk about drive-throughs, because drive-throughs are hella convenient when you've got too much on your plate. You've not even thought about dinner. You've put everything in your diary, and then you think, hold on, I'm absolutely starving. Yeah. And this whole movies and munchies things also seems to go together. And actually, sometimes we need to question that. Do I really have to have munchies watching a film? Really? Really? Do I really? You know, you are entitled to question that. Question that. So here are some strategies that I developed. I don't have snacks in my house. If anybody came to my house and you wanted a snack, the other day my friend came and all I had was Garibaldi biscuits, and that's only because my dad eats them. Yeah, that's one of the things I do, but my situation is different. If you've got kids in the house or a big family, it's not ever so easy. But if, say, for example, I had a craving for skips, then I need to go and get them from the shop. And trust me, if you have to go and get them from the shop, it just seems that all of a sudden my appetite is fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's like, fine, if you want them, go and get them from the shop then. You'll buy them when you need them. Because otherwise it feels like the food is calling me from the kitchen. So what I've done as a coping strategy is I don't have it in the house. How I manage that at the office is I always make sure I've got food. It might be miso soup, which isn't the most delicious experience, but hey, a belly full is a belly full. Or I have porridge. I've got certain basics that if I'm ravenous, I always think to myself, Key, line your stomach with that first. And then if you want to go out and buy, that's fine. But usually if you can line your stomach with something first, that can take that desire away. Remember, a belly full is a belly full, you know. And let's not forget about the value of water. I remember them telling me at Weight Watchers once that thirst and hunger operate on the same neural pathway. So sometimes we can't differentiate as to whether we're hungry or we're actually thirsty. Down some water. Another tip, another helpful tip, when I go to restaurants trying to have soup as the starter, start with the soup. If you want a little chocolate, that's fine. A little dessert at the end, that's fine. But the starter can also result in not overeating because, you know, it can fill you up. Just another tactic, just another little tip, just another little hack for you to think about in terms of your own relationship with food. Also, I try to, for like popcorn, if I do buy it, I tend to not buy the big bags. I buy the little 6-pack bags, yeah, because it's about self-care. Buying the big old back, the next thing you're sitting there, you're watching the film. Sometime by the time the credits is even finished, the intro's finished, I'm halfway through. I'm like, girl, you ain't even halfway through the film. The credits are still coming up. So one way to circumnavigate is to buy 6-packs. Now, obviously, depending on your financial situation, that can be, you know, you might think, oh, well, that's better value. But sometimes I'm not about getting things that are better value. If actually I've got more rubbish, I'm not going to get a 3 for 2 Turkish delights. I love a Turkish delight, but I'm not going to get 3 for 2. I'm going to have one. I'll have one if I want it, but I'm not going to get I'd rather pay more and get one. If you know what I'm talking about. Am I lying, people? I'd rather get one. One is much more helpful to me. One of the things, and this is an area that I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on, is what I've noticed as a helping professional is I can often say yes. I can say, yes, I love what I do. And this also relates to you, maybe I don't regard myself as a yes person, but generally I love what I do. I love my career. I love assisting. And that can often lead to a busy schedule. And at times when I've overdone it, what's often happened is my diary's filled. I've not diarized, and that's another thing you do, diarize lunch, lock it in, yeah, is I don't diarize lunch, and then I'm having to eat on the go, yeah? If you're tired and overwhelmed, and you're someone who gives a lot, if you put other people first, if you tend to be like a helping professional, ever in your career, you give, you're always pouring out, you're there for people. You know, you're the sort of person, you may even think about becoming a counselor because you're always helping and putting other people first. If this is the case, and you put yourself last, which means that you're making poor food choices, it means you're grabbing food on the go, you're making, you know, you might be going through drive-thrus, eating fatty foods, and you're exhausted, then I am of the view that sometimes when we've got so much going on in our life, it can almost feel like food is the only place that there's some leeway. So we don't prepare for food. And then what happens is we make these impulse purchases, or as the, you know, the smartphone giants, you already know, you just Uber Eats. And for many people, and this came up a lot during lockdown, especially with people with eating disorders, and you know, eating disorders isn't only about anorexia, it's also about obesity as well. And one of the things I encourage people to do is to think about, if you've got an issue with your weight, what apps do you have on your phone? While we appreciate Snoop Dogg in the Just Eat advert, we also need to be mindful that it's not great for our greatness to keep clicking the app, binge watching another series, and then clicking, and then you got Mr. Muhammad at your door with whatever culinary delights you want. As far as I'm concerned, you need to be mindful of that. A lot of those apps, they tap into our impulsivity, right? That's why we keep getting Amazon parcels, and you're kind of thinking, what the hell did I order at midnight? What was I ordering that night? Why the hell did I order that? Why the hell did I order this, right? Because the tech giants know that we make impulsive decisions. And it's why having the app there with your card uploaded is a beautiful way for them to get your money when an urge takes you. And so what happens is we don't learn to ride the urge. But one of the things I've learned as an empath, an empathic person, a sensitive soul, someone who gives and cares for humanity, cares for people, you know, the do-gooders of this world, is that I can end up, by saying yes to everything else, I can end up putting myself last. If anybody connects with that, put a yes, like, do you do this to yourself? Do you end up saying yes to everything, and then it results in you saying no to yourself? Did I see a hand go up there? Yeah. Welcome, Melissa. Welcome back. Good to have you back. I thought I saw, yeah. When you end up saying yes to everybody else, sometimes there's nowhere left in your diary for it to give. and you end up suffering for it. And that's one of the reasons why I encourage many of my empaths to start to think about, wow, where have we gone? Their relationship with food. Our relationship with food is very complex. And if you're a giver, remember, you're always giving out to others. This is then getting you to think about how you can now give to yourself. But if all we're giving back to ourselves is rubbish, fatty, sugary foods, is it any wonder that we end up sad and depressed? You see, the reason for this mood and food isn't because I decided, let me do mood and food. It's because mood and food comes up again and again and again in therapy and on the online programs that I do. So that gives me an insight into the challenges that people have. And remember, for people who do these famines, or you're trying to lose weight and you fast, if anytime you fast, as Ramadan teaches us, there would always be a feast. And that's something to be mindful of. Now, I'm not here to talk about diets and so on and so forth, because I'm not a fan. Been there, done that enough times. Yeah. But if there is a famine, so if you are starving yourself or doing something special, and when you can only eat on this day at this color, then be mindful, because when there is a famine, there will be a feast. And this is one of the reasons why I don't, where I'm at right now with the nutritionist I'm working with, is I say yes if I want it. I don't give food this supreme power. Don't call it a reward. Don't call it a treat. I just say yes if I want it at that time. And that actually is particularly helpful. I find it particularly helpful because it disempowers all of it. But if you're an empathic individual, a highly sensitive person, if people tell you you're too kind or you're too soft and you have a caring nature, then food can be a way that we learn to protect ourselves, that we buffer ourselves. And we need to be really mindful of that. If you're curious as to whether you're an empath, you can go to my YouTube channel, watch my video, 10 Signs You're an Empath. Empaths and emotional eating have a really interesting relationship. And the more I do my research into this, I just want to share it with people. And like I said, the main characteristics of empathic people tends to be that we're selfless, we put others first, we can struggle to say no, we see the goodness in people. But often, what can happen is, if you're an unprotected empathic person, then people can take the downright pee with you. You can end up being treated like a doormat. You can be too nice for your own good. And people can end up taking liberties. Yeah. And what can often happen is we can then use food to soothe ourselves. So what I'm encouraging you to think about, and you might want to take a picture of these questions, is thinking about self-inquiring questions. Yeah. This is how the power is within. Thinking about when it is that what are your high risk situations? And are you using that to soothe yourself? Remember, empathic people, we give out a lot, but often what happens is people don't see us as having any needs. And so if we as empathic people with emotional eating challenges are not attuned to what we need, then no one's coming to save us. I say this to people all the time, no one's coming to save you. So we must learn to save ourselves. And food can be a form of self-soothing. Or if you run a tight ship and you're highly organized, food can be one of the few places where you say, F it. You know what? If you're a very ordered and disciplined person, food might be one of the places where you say, cha, I'm just going to have it. Sod it. Yeah. And you might have a dysfunctional relationship with food. Tell it like it is, sister. I try, I do try. Yeah, man, we got to keep it real around here, because fake don't work. Fake don't work for nobody. Still struggling with this camera, but hey ho, we must move on. Also remember, I think this is one of the things I've noticed in my darkest hours. When you're eating when you're not hungry, and whatever's in the cupboard is going down the throat hole. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about the self-harm. And are you using that food to harm yourself? You know, I know for myself, if I'm in McDonald's and I'm buying a quarter pounder with cheese, which I don't even like, I have a word with myself. I have to say, what's wrong? Come on, Keith, we don't even eat this shit no more. What the hell is wrong with you? Who's upset you? And I just have to take a moment to reflect on my life. And the more I take that moment to think about what is upsetting me, what is going on, what is wrong, I can always pinpoint something. Not every single time, but if I can't pinpoint something at that particular time, it's like the cogs have started to work. So the cogs are starting to move around, you know, because it's also about having too much on your plate. Empathic people tend to say yes to too much, and we have too much on our plate. Have you ever been to the Eat As Much As You Like? I'm from West London. There used to be one in Park Royal. Jesus Christ, I used to love sitting there watching people fill their plate. You would think it never said eat as much as you like on the front door. I feel like saying to a man, brother, you know you can come back, you know. Them dried up shriveled chips ain't going nowhere. You don't have to mound it on like that. Empaths, we have a tendency to do the same. We can take on too much emotionally in our lives. We can take on other people's problems in our lives. It's not great for our greatness. And this is one of the ways that food can be a way that we end up not valuing ourselves, not looking after ourselves. And it's important to pay attention to that. Yeah? Because what I need you to understand is food, as well as sometimes you may have an appetite, and no matter what you're eating, you're not what you're eating, it's not hitting the size. My people, I'm here to tell you, food will not fill your void. Some of us have got a void and it's not, and it's bigger, it's too big. But we're so busy caught up in the food, the void. Material goods will not fill your void either. Big up to all the crew who are driving down to Bicester Village, about to spend your hard-earned money on last season's items. Yeah? Big up to all the people with the Gucci belt, the Prada shoe, the Prada bag, the Prada purse, the Prada cap, the Prada socks. To the people with the fancy taps and the marble surfaces in your kitchen that you love to show off and brag to your friends about. Material goods will not fill your void either. Big up to the Range Rover Massive. Very interesting now we can't get petrol in it. Everybody driving out there with 50 grand car in it. Material goods won't fill your void. I just want you to take a moment to think about, you know, a void that you might have. What if that appetite that you have that gets caught up with consuming food is really for a different, more satisfying life? Woo! What if you're hungry for something different in your life? A life of more fulfillment? What would that look to you now? What I want you to do is take a moment, go to Google and just give like one image. You can go to Google, text me the images of what a more fulfilling life might look like for you. If this speaks to you, because this ain't for everybody. You might be still thinking about hamburgers, yeah? But I can give you a whole raft of coping strategies, don't worry. We can put that in a whole email to you. You want your specific coping strategies. This is one of the coping strategies that I used to have. I don't know if anybody's done that here. But this plate, while I don't use it, because I use bone china now, I've moved out, I've moved up in life. But, you know, I always, psychologically now, I always try and have green. Green is good. Big up to all the herbalists Massive, right? Green, I always try and put half a green. I try and follow this little rule, yeah? It's just a little rule I have. I always try and have green on the plate. Green is good. Green is good. Green is your friend, Key. Green is your friend. So what would a more fulfilling life look like for you? Some of our lives are empty. Some of us want more. Thank you. Can see your text is coming in there. Thank you. Yeah. What comes to mind? And images are powerful. And I tell you why images are more powerful than text. For so many of us, we live in our heads. Yeah, we're all in our heads thinking that we can sort things out all the time. Yeah. But actually an image, woo. You see, at the moment, I'm transitioning too, and I've got images coming into my mind of a different future for myself. I'm gonna share this with you guys. We're friends. I've got a vision to go to LA to do my doctorate. I don't even know what courses they have out there, but something is pushing me that way. You know, I have clients that when I'm doing sessions, they're now writing, and I'm thinking, hold on, they're writing and taking notes. I'm thinking to myself, am I teaching people? And I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to teach. Maybe I am teaching. I don't know. But something is calling me to somewhere different. And Keeley is like, yeah, but how's that going to work? I've just got this. I've got the business. I've got Keeley is getting all in her head about it. If people know what I'm talking about, because you know this has got a spiritual element in here, because we've got to get spiritual, because we can't just keep it materialistic, people. Yeah. This is one of the reasons why people come to see your key, because they know that the CBT is taking them to a certain level, yeah, which is brilliant. But sometimes we need the depth to fully understand, because if you only have a way of coping, you don't know what the deep-rooted issue is. And this is one of the reasons why when the coping strategies no longer work, people end up depressed again and thinking, what the hell is wrong with me? You know, wrong with you, nothing wrong with you. You just need some more. You just got an appetite for more insights about yourself. And this is what I help people with, to get the deeper insights into your life, into your stuckness, into your unhelpful patterns that you have to surrender if you want to live a fulfilling life. And people, there will be relationship casualties. And if you know that you need some relationship casualties in your life, you need to write relationship casualties in the chat box, please. Some of us need to let go of certain people. That's why we're eating all the apple pie and custard, because certain people in our life are not helpful to us. And some of us are living in fear, and we're scared that if we say no, that they'll abandon us. My friends, you were already alone anyway. You were just in a room with a crowd of people by yourself. It's better you be alone by yourself without the insanity of having those people around you who are slowly bringing you down, draining all the energy out of you. And it's no wonder, because if people are draining the energy out of you, food is energy. Some people, they drain the food, they drain all your energy. Could that be the reason why you got an insatiable appetite, that you then go and put your energy back in with food? Food is energy, my people. I get a bit passionate here. You know, I'm passionate because life ain't no joke. Any images that have to you, what would that life look like for you? What would that life look like for you? Thank you for your images. That's the 07923 074 massive. I've been watching Corrupt FM lately, and so I've got that garage vibe going on at the present time. But I want you to take a moment. If you are emotionally eating, if you emotionally eat, what, if anything, because there's always the person who's like, nothing's out of kilter in my life, everything's fine. I'm like, well, why are you here then? Yeah. If you emotionally eat, something is out of kilter in your life. Ooh, something is out of kilter in your life. What might that be? What balance needs to be restored for you? Some of you are giving too much to others. You're bending over backwards. You're making yourself a gymnast. You ain't a gymnast. Stop being so flexible with unnecessarily difficult people. Say no. See if they abandon you. Run a little test. I tell people, I do like a little scientific test all the time. Tests with humans. What happens if I don't call? Do they call me? Try that one. That's always a good one. So remember, some of us are holding up relationships. We're holding up the whole thing like scaffolding. And if you didn't give, you wouldn't hear nought from them. So I want you to think about yourself, whether the kind of, I've included here about being empathic. And I can tell you this, like I said, all my workshops come from the ground up. They are from the people, and they get churned into my mind and they come out. My assistant and I create the presentations. This is what's happening for people. And I know what's personal to myself, to the people that I assist. A lot of us are struggling with these things. But I want you to think about whether you have the traits and behaviors of an empath combined with a complicated relationship with food. If you're a giver, if people seldom see you as having any needs, and they take from you, they leech from you, you come away feeling resentful, but you swallow down your bad feeling, you smile and nod, and actually you're breaking inside. Yeah. I'm going to encourage you to take an opportunity to invest in you. I've created the Empath Self-Protection course, and this is where I bring together all the insights inspired by the many clients that I see, inspired by groups that I facilitate, to help people who are struggling with being sensitive or being labeled too emotional, to help to better understand how to protect yourself. As I said to you again, no one is coming to save you. Keeley Taverner is passionate about helping people develop self-awareness. I said to a client yesterday, listen, you don't want to pay me forever. My ambition is to help you develop your awareness, because in the end, you will no longer need me. My ambition is to make myself redundant. Many people come to me after they've had the CBT, and that's beautiful and that's fine, because they need the depth. And the depth comes from developing your self-awareness. And when you develop your awareness, you take more increased responsibility for your life. You stop thinking that Big Dick Derek is going to come and save you. He won't come and save you. He just there to dig out your tripe. Ladies, if you know what I'm saying, give me an amen and a hallelujah. I'm keeping it nice, but you know what I'm saying. Some of us think because we're doing our Debbie Dallas routines, putting on our tassels and doing all kinds of cartwheels and deep throating, I'm sorry to say, you think that someone is going to have your back. Some of them are just getting their kicks. They're taking what's available and they will leave you. When your back is against the wall and you call, you don't even get 2 blue ticks. Yeah? And look at the phone, 2 blue ticks. That you think you're going to be the 4th emergency services for these people. If you have any questions, please put them in the questions. I will make the question and answer section. I'll make the videos on this for you for the YouTube channel. But this is about learning ways to overcome and also to learn how to live a much more fulfilling life, where you begin to take slow steps. As you know, I'm not about breakneck change. If you feel these coaches telling you after 10 weeks, you're going to change your life and get £1 million, find the man of your dreams, get the house and live your happy best life, I'll tell you this, they're lying to you. Stop giving them your free ground. They're selling you a dream. I don't sell people dreams. We keep it ultra real around here. Ultra. The course is all about helping you to become aware of yourself. It's a 6-week online course. We go live on a Thursday. You get workbooks, you get a private WhatsApp group, and you know I'm there. I'll take your questions live. And also, if you want to get my best prices for one-to-ones, if you sign up and you're an empath person, you're part of the Empath Self-Protection course, you get my best rates. So, like I said, this course is for people who are labeled too emotional, too this, too that. And if you are struggling, or if you've had therapy before and you've not always found it as helpful, I'm a passionate advocate that actually courses can give you the insights. And what I find is people do my courses, and then when they have the therapy, the insights are quicker because you've already developed your self-awareness. If you are intrigued by yourself and you want to know more about yourself and you're tired of going round in vicious circles where potentially food or people have power over you, I'm telling you, what you are yearning for is something different. Your soul wants more for your life. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not there yet, don't worry, you can come back to me when you're ready. But if you know what I'm talking about, this void is an appetite for something else, for something different. And if you want to invest in yourself today, it's available for the investment in you for just $297. $297. But what stops you from saying yes to you? Now, often, many of the people I support are not always great at investing in themselves. We go above and beyond for others, but yet when it comes to an issue, we're blocked. You might feel guilty spending on yourself. God, I remember those days. God, I was being used like a paper towel, and all my disposable income was going on him, what he liked. I didn't even know what I liked. I don't even think I liked anything because I was so attuned to that person's needs. You might be scared that someone, if you do invest in you, you might have to hide it because you might have someone who's also scrutinizing you. A lot of people come up with this first block. I can't afford it. You know what? If you can afford the eyelashes, the long nails, yeah, and the Range Rover, it's likely you can afford it. But many of us have a block when it comes to investing in us. And if that is the case, inbox me. Or you might find another excuse. You might find that time is an issue. Yeah, all of which may well be valid. It's a bit like my head, when my head says, when an intuition comes to me, which is like, Key, go and do your doctorate in a whole nother place, meet a whole load of other people. Really and truly, I think I just want to get invited to some of them big parties with all them celebrities. You know, I just want to be like, hashtag made it out the hood. Here's your girl Key, made it out the hood. But anyway, the benefits of saying yes to you is that it has a snowball effect. I got here where I am because I used to get broke up by my baby father, yeah? And today I'm grateful for those life lessons because it led me to read self-help books. Self-help books, $7.99, I bought it in Harrow at Waterstones. First book I ever bought in my entire life. I left school with no GCSEs and some advice. Don't come back. That has led to the snowball effect. It helps you to start to overcome feeling guilty when you invest in you. And if you know about the law of attraction, big up to all the people who've read The Secret, then you'll know that it always will come back to you. The investments I've made, I've paid thousands and thousands of pounds to be here, to be this cocky with the psychological insights I have. I don't worry about the debt because investing in myself is absolutely priceless and it comes with a price tag. But no price tag has ever stopped me saying yes to my dreams. Because from a spiritual dimension, I know a way will be found because I know I come with a good intention. If you know, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Thank you. The Spirit is with us. And often we can make a way out of no way. A way can be found. And you'll be surprised if you're doing universe, the way that the universe, souls, God, Allah, Buddha, Jaja, Jesus finds a way for you to invest in yourself. I'm your girl, Keeley Taverner, psychotherapist, and that is my presentation. If you've got any questions or you would like to book a 15-minute talk with me, please do so. My assistant is going to put a comment below and you'll be able to find out where that is, where to go to find that. But here, let's have a little quick look. Yes, the law of attraction is universal. Absolutely, absolutely. There's no two ways about that. But I hope this session has been beneficial to you. Like I said, if you've got any questions, no questions at the moment, what's going on? Have I given such a clear and precise presentation that nobody's left with any questions? It's all good. But like I said, the appetite you have may be for something different, something bigger. What is out of kilter in your life. Food will never fill that void. Food will never fill that void. Thank you very much. This has been great. Melissa, you are most welcome. So without further ado, thank you. And like I said, if you're interested in the course, we're going to send you an email. Sign up. We've got few spaces left. I'm passionate about helping people to understand at a deeper level what is going on for them in terms of your behavior. Remember, your behavior is shaped by your unconscious mind. And what self-awareness does is it helps you to take what's unconscious and brings it into your awareness. And once you become aware, you then have the choice. You can either choose to go back into unhelpful cycles, or you can endeavor to try something different. And all I can tell you as a checkout cashier from IKEA is that when you try something different, your life has the potential to change exponentially. I wish you all the best. Take care and good night. Any questions, feel free, text me, put them in the questions, or just come back to me directly. Good night, and I wish you all the best.